Hmm?
Okay, so where this kind of all began started was we came up with the idea for a database, and there was a lot of questions that came like, what did that entail? And so like the main thing was this isn't necessarily a searchable database. It's a place where you could submit your idea to, and it compares what's already out there. So you don't actually have to do the comparison yourself to see if it exists. It's you submit your idea, and then you can see what else is already out there. And then kind of more things that kind of came about with this is there's a lot of financial questions that came into play. Should it be privately funded? Should it be government funded? And we had pros and cons for each argument. And so like it was just really difficult. And then we started thinking about, well, how much is this going to cost? It's not cheap or easy to implement a database. It takes a ton computer scientists developing algorithms that would actually be able to make this searchable and compare them to one another. And what we came to the conclusion was this was an extremely expensive way to do. While it would be a great scenario and a great idea to have, feasibly and financially, we decided it probably wasn't the best approach and kind of start developing some new ideas.
Right. So because we decided that really a one organized database for people to go to was probably unrealistic at this point in time, we wanted to kind of shift agency to the people who have the ideas in the first place. And so how we decided to do that was focusing on the patent and copyright laws that are currently in place. So we wanted to make the process easier for people to put new ideas out there, as well as limit the time and potency of current copyright laws so that people could really take an idea, rekindle it, turn it around. So we had two ideas that really stuck out, and everything else kind of fit under them. We want to expand the fair use doctrine that's currently in place with copyright law. Currently, lawmakers and lawyers don't have a real solid definition of what this fair use is. So we want to be able to write a solid definition of what constitutes fair use, so it can be used as a reference so people don't get wrapped up in this. Also, as the internet becomes a prominent source of information, we want people to know where their intellectual property goes, who uses it, and we want them to be able to know this in a realistic way, which is why expanding the fair use doctrine is important. The other thing we came to conclude is we need to shorten the length of time that copyright or patents protect, and it would give people more of an incentive, as we said. Our big question with this that we didn't really answer, that probably should be addressed, is how will this affect first mover companies if they know that their specific patents won't be protected for a very long period of time. The jury's still out. What this kind of culminated in was the development of collaborative communities. They already exist, but we felt like they should be expanded on, and that expansion of the fair use doctrine and the shortening of copyright laws would actually really kind of enable these communities to grow. We thought that maybe we could use a type of social capital that can be spent in viewing, contributing to these kind of communities. And that maybe that would be specifically an organizational way to look at it, like companies and firms would get in on this, but not necessarily the average person. But these two things would protect them. And then he also had a really good idea about buying and selling patents. Do you want to explain that?
Sure, it's just the idea that people have ideas but don't have the money to go through them, so they can style or buy patents, and this actually exists already online, as we found out by looking up, and we can sell it for the whole thing or for a percentage, for royalties, whatever. And one of the websites we found was ideabuyer.com, and just ended up being, how can we find this be credible? That's really where it ended up.
And some ideas for that were making sure you had like the HTTPS, because that signifies that your information doesn't exactly go out there as easily as just a .http site, and possibly like look into like private or government sponsorship for that site.
Yeah. And I think one last argument we had kind of to put everything together was that one thing that kind of stops the spread of information and ideas in the United States is the concept of like a partial idea, that things can't be really traded, taken credibly, unless they're a whole roundabout thing. But with the development of these collaborative communities, if you can offer partial solutions or ideas within them that don't have to be ready to market products, and you can still get a lot of feedback and contribute in that way.
Yeah, I guess like to kind of end it off was we had a lot of questions regarding this, like what exactly is a patent? And for us, before you even start building your ideas, it has to come down to the knowledge of the process itself. What do all these definitions mean? What is the Fair Use Act? And we had to kind of look up this information. And we felt before you can even kind of put your idea out there, you should know how you should put your idea out there, because so many people their idea gets stolen from them. And so we want to develop like a more interactive way of teaching people how to use the system, how to develop their patent, have short videos in which they could say, here's a clip of what are the steps to do, and make it a little bit more interactive so people can see what the process is versus just go blindly into it and see an overwhelming amount of garbage out there. Have like a source that says, here's the process, and make it interactive for people to actually look into versus just skim over it and forget about it. Thank you.